welcome back to another episode of the Menswear Style Podcast. I'm your host, Pete Brooker. Today on the show, I am talking to the co-founders of Simswear, Billy Sims-Hilditch and Rory Bennett. A little bit about Simswear. They're on a mission to simplify wardrobes by ending the cycle of fast fashion driven by seasonality. They create timeless designs that outlive trends and which are of the highest quality craftsmanship and materials. They take a different approach to clothing. They make it well and they make it last, and in doing so they protect the planet's precious natural resources. Sounds good. Simswear.com is the place to go. We'll leave a link in the show notes. But to tell us more about the brand is Billy and Rory. Okay, on line one, we've got Billy Sims-Hilditch and Rory Bennett. They're the co-founders of Simswear. How are we doing today, gents?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Thanks for having us on the podcast.
Yeah, it's exciting to be here.
I'm excited. Guys, well, typically we're both in London. You guys are down in Marylebone. I'm in Chiswick, but the signal has already got a 5-second delay. We'll see if we can get through that. I don't know what it is. Whenever I speak to anyone in America, it's crystal clear. But yeah, I can speak to someone over the fence, and it feels like we're on Mars. But hopefully, we'll suffer it.
I think, unfortunately, we can vouch for the fact that we've been, since moving into our shop, we've been incredibly cheap and haven't invested in a proper Wi-Fi thing. So we've been hotspotting the whole time that we've been here. So hopefully it's all right and we can manage to make our way through it.
You see, the cost of living. People don't think about the cost of Wi-Fi on top of that as well, right? Well, listen, gents.
Exactly.
Gents, I want to hear about the brand and how you guys have toiled away over the summer to get some bricks and mortar and get this off the ground. I guess, Billy, let's start with you. Can we have an introduction, a broad overview of the brand?
Yeah, of course. So Simswear started 3 years ago. It was effectively coming after sort of out of COVID. I was about to, after leaving university, was about to go into a grad scheme in sort of the automotive industry around sort of branding and sort of marketing, that kind of area. And they came back to me basically and said, sorry, we're not running it this year anymore because of COVID. And in the meantime, I was living at home. I was trying to think about what I could do with my time. And I'd had this jumper, which had effectively fallen apart after the space of about 1 year. Spent a lot of money on it. Well, a lot for me, which was about, £200, which is a lot for most people, frankly. And it was just really, pissed off to say as it is about the poor quality of it. So
you could have got some decent Wi-Fi for that price.
Yeah, fair enough. Put a lot of effort and research into working out what it was that made a really good quality piece of knitwear. So I wanted to understand, where I could effectively buy that really nice jumper that I wanted, but I didn't want to effectively have to pay for a brand on top of it. I just wanted the good jumper. So after a lot of that research, came across this idea around sort of 3 pillars of knitwear that you need to have a really good quality jumper. So you need really good raw fiber, a really good yarn spinner, and a great knitter. And then if you get all 3 of those all lined up, then you should have a great piece of knitwear. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen, or very rarely happens in sort of modern businesses because people are chasing costs and whatnot. But I just had had a theory that there are people out there like me that want to know that what they've got is as good as it can be without paying for a label on the front of it, having to pay extra for that. So to cut a long story short, it was either sort of reapply for the grad scheme or go and order a small quantity of these jumpers. And I went for that because I thought I'm never going to get the opportunity again. And we're here still 3 years later with a bit of an expansion of what that was.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So a nice story of something that was a need for you personally, and you go, right, okay, let's see if we can not solve this, but make something that will improve what you already have. Rory, where do you come in on this? How do you guys know each other?
So Billy and I lived with each other in university. We were at Exeter University together, and been great friends since our first year. And I left university and joined the finance industry and kind of went through the grad scheme and things like that, and did just under 3 years as a stockbroker before realizing, I realized pretty early on that it wasn't really for me, but I kind of tried to slog it out for a bit as long as I could. And then, yes, finally decided it really wasn't for me. And Billy kind of approached me, knew that I was not enjoying it, and he said, would you like to join Simsware? I've always been looking for a business partner, and he
Someone with a bit more financial and operational acumen, you could say.
yeah, maybe so. And yeah, I mean, it was a pretty easy decision for me. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've never really had the nuts to do it. So kind of nice coming into a business a year and a half in, where Billy's sort of done the real hard yards to get it off the ground initially. But also, I love the product. I bought some of Billy's first ever jumpers. I've always loved the product, and I could see what Billy was building. He's like built such a kind of beautiful looking brand, and he's focused on the right things around kind of the quality of the product, and hopefully that comes through when people see the brand and whatnot. But I could see that there was something here, and I obviously trust Billy, but also I think more importantly, I can see the talent that he's got around building the brand and designing the clothes and picking out the colors, and a real eye for detail. So it was a pretty easy decision for me, to be honest. And as Billy said, it's a kind of complementary set of skills rather than the two of us both being creative and designy. Billy's very good at that side of things, and I'm slightly more strategic and financy orientated. I guess the less glamorous side of running a business, but equally important. So yeah, we make a good team, and yeah, I joined officially in January of this year.
Right. Okay.
As a kind of shareholder and director and whatnot.
Interesting. Yeah, and it must be good for you guys, having a history together and a friendship that's already there, that you can have a good shorthand coming into the business, so that you guys, you don't have to feel each other out, for want of a better phrase. I've got a business partner as well that I've known for about 40 years, and so we can just cut through the crap cake when anything's going on, and we just need to get from A to B. We don't have to be sensitive about each other's feelings. We can just go straight in, which is good for me. Not
That was always
Mm.
I was gonna say that was always something for me, which was so important, because from day dot, I always thought I need like a business partner to make this really happen, because I've got my set of skills. There's some things I'm good at. There's some things I'm not good at, to say it frankly. And in order to get a business off the ground, you need a lot of everything, and you need a lot of hard work. You need a lot of luck, and then equally you just need the full skill set. And I was always thinking, like, well, how am I going to find that other person? All my mates are in city jobs or finance or whatever, and they're pretty set on doing what they want to do. And there's nice and secure, good salary. There's not really much that's going to swing them over. And then when the conversation came around with Rory, it just worked out perfectly, because we'd lived with each other at university during our second year, so we knew what each other were like before we'd even thought about whether we were going to work with each other. So it was it was an easy decision about knowing that other person and what they're like to work with, and thinking, okay, well, there's a good chance that this could work if we both want to do it.
Yeah,
and it's just super nice coming to your best.
Oh, sorry, go on. Sorry, Rory. Sorry to cut you off. Go for it.
I was going to say it's just really nice coming to work with one of your best mates, and like it doesn't feel like work when you're just having a good time and working through the problems, having a laugh about it, and not, if something goes wrong, you just kind of don't take it too seriously. Like there's always a solution somewhere. And yeah, it's awesome so far.
And did you at any point think, right, okay, well, I need my name on the shelf as well? I mean, we've got Sims there, but I'm coming in as a shareholder, so maybe it's going to be Sims Bennett wear. Was there some kind of discussion of how you can kind of crowbar your name onto the shop sign?
To be honest, for me, it's not important at all. I'm very, very happy being out in the shadows in the background, just doing my own thing and doing what's best for the business. I don't need my name on there. I'd rather it wasn't, to be honest.
That means it is important though, because I think, like, in a way that we did have a conversation around it, like, what does, like, now that it's not just Simsware, it's it's both of us kind of thing. Why? What does that mean? What do we need to do around that? And I think again, just on one thing that we've noticed, for example, on social media, when it's like we're talking about, when we're talking about new brand releases or whatever, or new product releases, and it's just sort of product imagery around about the of the new stuff which is coming out, that versus when it's us in front of the camera talking to people, there's such a big difference, and people I think really resonate well seeing Rory and me, that like our personal side about the business and how that how we work in the business and what we actually do. I think it's while the name isn't obviously Sims Benware, when it comes across the way it comes across the media and the people, the way that we like to try and interact with people, is very much a duo kind of thing. And I think, well, you never know. Who knows? Down the line, we might be Sims Benware. It's got a nice ring to it.
Rory might just get such an ego. He'll be like, do you know what? We can just call it Bennettwear. We don't need the Sims at all. We can change it all. It's when you look over his shoulder one day, Billy, and he's writing out the shop sign, and he's got a big X through Sims, and it's just Bennettwear in neon lights.
Although maybe there's something in the shareholders agreement that I might have missed off.
Yeah, something in the something in the fine print. Yeah. Let's talk about. I want to talk about life in London as well, in Marylebone. Why you set up in Quebec Street? So you mentioned just off mic that it's just behind Marble Arch. I think I know where you guys are. You're on Quebec Street. You got, is it the Grazing Goat and Boxcar?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right. Okay. Grazing Goat is literally bang opposite.
Yeah, is Boxcar open?
Yep,
that's it. Okay, because that was closed during COVID, and that sucks. Because I say to people that Boxcar has the best burger in all of London, no doubt.
Really?
Yeah,
that's a big claim.
Well, because so my missus used to live on Montague Square, so that's just behind you guys, right? You got the John Lennon blue Yoko Ono blue plaque, which is now Mason and Sons. But you guys, are right next to Boxcar, and they've got a bakery somewhere else around the other side. But Boxcar, I think I'll stand by it. I'd put Boxcar burger up against any burger in London.
Really?
Yeah.
Right out now.
Yeah.
Well,
you haven't tried it?
We haven't even tried it, which is ridiculous.
It's
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's the classic case of like when you live in London and you never eat anything that's right next to you. You always have to travel about an hour to go to the restaurant that you want to go to, but you've got so many nice places right next to you.
Oh yeah, I've never even done the London Eye. I mean, I can
exactly.
I can get to it in 10 minutes, but I've never done it. Okay, well, look, here's something for you. Boxcar burger, and give me a call. Let me know how you get on with that.
We will.
Getting back to you guys though. Talk to me about why you set up there. Was it something that was local to you at the time? Are you in the area?
Want to go for that one?
I think we always loved Marylebone. I think it's a beautiful part of London. It's got kind of good clientele in terms of what we're looking to kind of target and things like that. And we sort of took a punt really. Like we knew the area. We didn't know the street particularly well. But we spoke to some various different landlords, and the landlord that Portman Estates, who are our landlord, were super helpful. They really bought into our brand and what we were trying to do, and were willing to help us. And they love the kind of British made element of it, and they were super supportive, which was a massive factor for us. And they were able to kind of give us a contract that suited our needs, that we're not quite prepared to commit to kind of a long 7-10 year commercial lease at the moment. So they've been super supportive in giving us a sort of pop-up rolling model, and it sort of all fell into place nicely. We'd done a pop-up on the King's Road a couple of months before we moved in, and that was a space that we shared with 2 other brands, and we saw the success that we had there, and we just knew that we needed to find another place kind of really quickly. So it all sort of fell into place nicely. The space had been empty for a while, so they were happy to help us out, and it's a really great space. We got them to knock down an internal partition wall, so it's got a huge, nice open kind of floor space, and we've painted it a nice kind of warm tonal peachy color, which you probably see in the background, and decorated it with kind of nice artwork and leaves, and it's looking quite autumnal at the moment. But I digress probably a bit, but it's just a great part of town. It's got loads of good the kind of clientele that you get there is what we're sort of looking for, as well as a lot of tourists
I'd
as
also
well, which
say
is
like
nice.
the other shops that are in the area, which I think is such a good thing about Marylebone, which draws in the right kind of customer. Most of the other brands around here are kind of independent or semi-independent small businesses, which just make, you know, the type of person that's going to go to them is going to come to us and like what we're offering as well. So it's just, and it's also, it's got a sort of a triple mix where you've got the locals, the people who work here, and then you also get a really good tourist, you know, flow through of actual sort of, you know, good tourists. So like, you know, American tourists who come to visit, they come and stay at the Grazing Goat, which is, you know, a very smart pub, nice rooms, and then they, you know, they come here and they see British made clothing and they love they love that. So it's just, as an area, it kind of ticks all the boxes for us. Yeah, I think it's great to be here. And then the other thing that, as Ross was mentioning, is that we've got this sort of short-term lease, but the idea behind that is that we could sort of test it effectively for a year, see how it goes, and then be in a position to put in an offer that we actually have some data off, because we've never done a bricks and mortar space before. Like, neither of us have done retail. We don't know what we should be doing. We don't know what we should be taking, all that kind of stuff. So it's good to get a bit of data and then use that to make a decision for next year.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, you got Z hotels around the corner from you as well. So if people are coming to the area and going, oh, we could stay at the
Mhm.
Grazing Goat, or we could go to Z hotels. That's actually cheap but really nice. And you've got Zeta Townhouse. Have you
Yeah.
guys been to Zeta Townhouse yet? Yeah.
Yeah, so the you might, I don't know, if you spotted some of our, I actually haven't really put that much out of it or from Zeta, but we did our half, like part of our autumn winter shoot in Zeta downstairs.
Nice. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Is it on the website?
There is some there. There's not that much, because so I shot it and we shot it on a film, and because it's quite what's the word? Sort of polished. When we were shooting with the flash, there was quite a lot of reflections flying around. So some of the imagery hasn't come out super well. But if you go onto like the cashmere jumper, for example, I think that's on the inside of the Zeta, the cashmere navy jumper, which is probably just knitwear. Now you're gonna have to navigate our difficult to read website.
No, I actually really like it. It's a very clean looking website. Easy to get around for someone like me. Okay, yeah. So is that the one where you're in like a mahogany background with a red couch? Is that
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
downstairs in the Zeta,
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, good, good.
and they were nice.
So the thing I had with Zeta, I haven't been there for maybe a couple of years, but what I really liked was the space. It's like a speakeasy almost. You don't really know it's there unless someone tells you it's there. I wouldn't know to look it out or find it, right? And it's not overly obvious when you walk past it what's inside. But brilliant for like a meeting because it's very antiquated. It feels like you're going into a well-kept secret, as it were. I wish, and maybe they might have changed this since, I wish they would have better tumblers for their cocktails. I always found their
Again,
glasses, yeah, to be really flimsy.
Bigger cocktails or
No, well, the cocktails are fine. It's just the glasses are just too thin. Too like I like it's I mean the cocktail it's all about the vessel, right? I mean you could really have anything in the
yeah.
glass, right? But it's how it's the receptacle that you have it in. And I find like their glasses, especially for the Negronis and whatnot, they just come into like these really small glasses. They have more purchase, like
Bit
something like
chunky,
a
bit
cut
more
glass tumbler.
weight.
You know, it's not too hard to do. Maybe they fixed that since. I'll give them a break. I haven't been down for a year or two.
Yeah, we'll try it out. We'll go for a burger, and then we'll go for a Negroni,
Yeah.
and then we'll tell you one more.
I want a real match report. I want to know if I can come back and retread my steps. And it's yeah. I mean, so I know the area quite well, and you guys do obviously as well. But I mean, so if people are coming in to London and like say tourists, let's say, and they want to stay in the area, you've got quite a lot right on your doorstep there as well. You're not far from Baker Street, so you have Madame Tussauds. You got Chiltern High Street as well, so you got the Chiltern Firehouse, you know, where you can find Kylie Minogue hanging out, or Orlando Bloom spilling out at 2 a.m. in the morning. And it's I don't know if it's as sung about as Oxford Street, for example, which kind of runs right down perpendicular to all of it. So most people will just flood onto Oxford Street, but not know so much about the little side streets like you guys.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah, exactly. It's great. I mean, you've got a really good mix of everything. The fact that you are so central in town is great for, you know, people who are coming to visit, like tourist wise. You've got Oxford Street there if you want to go and check it out. You can spin it up and down it. Then you go a bit further along through as you just get through Marylebone, you get through over to like Fitzrovia and stuff, and you get all loads of other nice shops, nice brands. We're in the good part where like obviously we're not in Mayfair, which is a bit, that bit smarter, but it's kind of like Marylebone and Fitzrovia are almost like the ready-to-wear versions of Mayfair, versus the sort of suiting in Mayfair. It's quite like smart, Margaret House, that kind of thing. So yeah, it just seems to be like a pretty nice location with a good mix of food, beverage, retail, and good hotels.
I almost want to say you did some photo shoots down some of the muses down there as well. Did I see a? Do you do like photo shoots of the clothes around like? Oh, it's not Montague. It's the muse behind Montague Square because they used to be stables, so they have these
No,
old cobble steps.
that
Mm.
was that was down actually in Pimlico. So
Pimlico.
in
Oh.
a little one down there, but could be substituted for it. They're very similar. I think you're thinking about when we shot our Oxford shirts.
Yeah, like Bryanston clothes and places like that, which is
Yeah, I
just
know
by you.
exactly. Yeah, those were done in Pimlico, but it's a similar sort of look. And actually, when we were doing it, it's one of the things that Portman, the estate, have been really friendly about. They were the ones who actually introduced us to Zeta because they said, "Well, Zeta are in the area. If you guys are looking for some interesting, settings for your photo shoot, I'm sure we can introduce you." So they introduced us into Zeta. They said as well for we were talking about these sort of muses, they'd seen our photography and said, "Well, we've got a fair few of them around here. You'd be more than welcome to use them and that kind of thing."
You know,
Um,
you must have spoken to a completely different set of people at Portman than we did. I've had nothing but trouble with those guys. You must have got through to you must have a different like the secret bat
mixed
line.
bag.
Yeah, because I mean, like for example, when when we had the flat there in Montague Square, there's a communal area. So you come in and then you go up the stairs, and we're in flat two. They told us to take the paintings off the wall because we put these paintings up the stairwells through in the communal area. I'm like, why do we have to take the paintings off the wall? And they go, oh, it's a fire hazard. I said,
Oh
are
my
you
God.
insane? It's a painting on a wall.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you got
that's
it. So we came back one day and they'd let themselves in Portman and they stripped the entire stairwells and even took one of the cadenzas out of like this little space. We bought this nice cadenza and they just took it. We're like, I said, well,
what
you
the
better tell me whether you put that cadenza because I'm going to come down there and and anyway.
that seems strange. Maybe that's the difference between the commercial and the resi team.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? That's a good point because they want you guys, they want the commercial guys in there, right, to bring people into the town and make it popular rather than just have it all filled up with residents. So, but yeah, I'm glad that you've had a better experience because it'd be miserable if you spoke to the people
So
that
we
we spoke to, you'd be miserable.
You'll be out of that probably.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about the products as well as on. Could you talk about where they made the inspiration behind the garments and what people can expect, when they receive one of these garments from you? Billy, I'll throw that to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So everything. So that's kind of like what, since the start, Sims has always been about British made clothing. So whatever you get from us, it's all going to be made in some place within the UK using one of the, a really small heritage manufacturer that sort of specializes in what they do. So the knitwear, for example, well, the sweaters, the jumpers, the yarn for those is all spun up in Kinross, just outside of Edinburgh, using Todd and Duncan. They're sort of widely regarded as the creme de la creme when it comes to yarn spinners in the UK and if not around the world. They're used by the likes of Chanel, fair few other pretty high luxury brands out there. And then they're knitted. The sweaters are also, were knitted in the UK, knitted up in Scotland as well, up in Aberdeenshire. One of the things which, again, impacted the decision of around the design of the jumpers at the start was because of, the jumper that I mentioned that started it all, so to speak, the one which fell apart under the arms at the seams. During my research, I found that you can get there's a type of knitting machine called a seamless knitting machine that knits in a tube. So rather than knitting a flat panel like a scarf, for example, or you knit a front and a back and arms and arms, which are then linked together by hand afterwards, the machine knits the whole body and arms as tubes, and then it links the arms to the body within the machine itself, and it's all sort of knitted in. And what that effectively means is that, you know, sometimes, okay, so when you go to Johnson's of Elgin, they'll have hand linked pieces, and they'll take, you know, time on every single link to make sure there's no drop stitch or whatever, so that you're not going to have any problems with them coming apart at the seams. Whereas if you go to, you know, anywhere that isn't as, you know, prestigious as someone as a brand like that, they're just going to be sort of bashing them out, trying to make sure they're producing as many as quickly as possible, and as a result you end up getting failures within them, so people miss a link. So it's this tiny, you know, one link is effectively one, you know, tiny little knit, so you've got to have really good eyes, really focused to make sure you're getting every single link into the machine at the right time if you're doing it by hand, and inevitably you end up getting, you know, links which are missed. And that's what effectively had happened with the jumper that I bought. So ours are all done on a seamless machine. So the machine does all the linking itself, which, you know, some say might take out a bit of the charm of it, but actually personally, I prefer to have a product that I know has been done absolutely perfectly every single time. And as a result, it means that, you know, you're not going to get any issues around that. So yeah, the sweaters are all made around the UK. We also do shirts, t-shirts, again from pure natural fibres, made up in Scotland and Manchester for the t-shirts. And you know, there's been something since the start we're just super proud of and love to do. It's not easy though, trying to find all those factories.
Yeah, and I guess the shirt making process is an entirely different beast if you're making something that you
Yeah.
still want to have quality in. You know, I believe you can do a run of shirts and it's not going to be the best shirts in the world and you can keep the cost down. But if you want to have good quality shirts to reflect the companion
Yeah.
piece, the cashmere and the sweaters, you can't just have really good sweaters and then just run of the mill shirts, pardon the pun. So what about,
Exactly. I
yeah, tell
mean,
me about the
that's just,
shirts and the process
yeah,
of getting those off the ground.
you know, super. I'd say the shirts were super tricky. You know, the knitwear I'd say has been the easiest off the start, which is amusing. The shirts are tricky because you've got to get the right cut, just literally starting from the basics. So that's bringing together, you know, I'm not a pattern cutter and nor a sort of a traditional designer in the sense of the word, but brought together like a few different designs that I liked at the time. Taught, you know, worked with a pattern cutter to create the patterns that we wanted for the shirt. And then off of those, do some samples, you know, adjust the patterns, more samples, adjust. Took about 3 or 4 rounds of adjusting to get it to where we wanted it to be. You've then also got to work out, you know, it's the same sense, you know, Todd and Duncan are quite easy to find because they're just, you know, they're widely accepted as the best when it comes to yarn for knitwear. When it comes to trying to find shirting, it's a bit more tricky and equally very expensive. Because there's obviously so much you know, so many hands in the process when you're cutting and sewing a shirt. It ends up being quite pricey. So spend a lot of time trying to find a really good quality classic Oxford shirting, you know, in white, a blue, and a blue stripe. And managed to get there in the end, again through different samples, testing, washing, that kind of thing. And and then we found a manufacturer up in Scotland who it was pretty hard work. We were working with someone in London. Turns out that they were just going to end up costing an absolute arm and a leg. So, you know, no one's going to end up spending 200 quid for a shirt that they have no idea about the brand or whatever. So it was a kind of non-starter. Went to Scotland and they were still a lot more expensive than what you pay for. And like, you know, if you went overseas abroad to Portugal or something, but again, they were very, you know, they've got a lot of expertise in what they're doing. And they've been in business for about 60 years, 70 years, and managed to survive through all the difficulties of when everything went overseas back in the sort of, what, I don't know, 70s, 80s kind of period. Yeah, so we got our sort of batch of shirts put together, which was super happy with, and they've got a really nice, you know, the people who buy them absolutely love them. They wear them all the time. They're built pretty strong because you know, they're nice proper Oxford cotton. But yeah, they're another really lovely piece of the collection.
Nice. Well, they look really good on the website. And yeah, I was thinking the ready to wear shirts, £200 for a shirt that you wouldn't be too familiar with a brand. And let's just say it's not been seen on the back of Daniel Craig or Matthew McConaughey, right? Or anything like that. So You think, oh, okay, that might be a bit of a steep. But then also, if you go into bespoke and you order like a bespoke shirt, you have to do like a run of 5 or 6, depending where you go. And I mean, that could come out round about just about the same price. I think I've got like bespoke shirts from a run of 6. You can pay 240 for a shirt, for a single shirt. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's if you're going to hit that kind of, and I guess this is where you come in, Rory, where you look at the pricing points and you go, well, what are we going to be doing here? I mean, for an extra 20 quid, we can just go to Turnbull and Nasser and get them done.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, we want the brand to be a kind of accessible pricing, and I mean it's made in Britain, so we're always slightly on the back foot versus some of the guys that make in Portugal or further afield. But we want to try and be as inclusive as we can, and yes, our products then they're not cheap, but the quality hopefully speaks for itself and justifies the price tag. But equally, there's some very similar products out there that are charging kind of 1.5, 2 times the price for more or less the same products. So yeah, I mean, a big thing for us is we want people to be wearing our clothes and kind of feeling the quality, and the easiest way to do that is to be competitive on price as best you can. Clearly, there's limitations with that, and we have to make the business work, and we can't go too low because it's not a cheap it's not a cheap thing to do is running a business. So yeah, I mean, I try and keep Billy in check and make sure he's not spending too much money on shirt patterns.
Do you guys have a joint account? So like, does your phone go beep when he's like having a bit of a splurge up in Edinburgh?
Like, we do have a joint account, but it doesn't beep. So maybe we should invest in that, and I can keep tabs on him a little bit.
Like, what are you doing ordering the rock oysters, you goddamn animal? We can't afford that. I'm here having alphabet.
Well, thankfully, we're usually the same room.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah,
Well, listen,
exactly.
guys, it's been really fun speaking to you. I had a couple of ideas just before we go, because we've only got a few minutes left. Billy, do you have the same jumper that fell apart, that original jumper that you had? The one that you
Yes, I do.
Yeah, do you have it hanging up in the shop? Because you can use it as like the journey point, the touchstone.
No. I really need to. You know what? I need to go and fish it out. I think I had it repaired like so many times. I think my sister's stolen it, because it's a cashmere jumper, so it wears really nicely, but it's just got like patches, like darned up and under the arms and all that kind of stuff. I do need to get it in the shop actually to show people who come in, like, this is what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, because it's now getting patched up. It's on the verge of being cool again, because if it's going through a few phases now,
Yeah.
it's got its own life. It's got its
Not
own
wrong.
journey. And also, I don't know why, but I wrote down, what have I got here? I wrote down hard yarns, because you said that Billy had already done the hard yards, and what you can say in future, Rory, is that he's already done the hard yarns, and that could be like an option. It could be like a separate label. Anyway.
Hard yarns.
Sort of scribbling away.
Maybe that's for the yeah.
That's your the magazine that you release, or your new watch label, or something. I don't know.
Quarterly. That can go quarterly.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, guys, it's been really fun talking to you. Sims-Wear is the place people can go. We'll leave a link in the show notes, and don't forget to head down to Quebec Street if you're in town. Until next time, cheers, guys. Bye-bye. You've been listening to the Menswear Style podcast. Be sure to head over to menswearstyle.co.uk for more menswear content, and email info@menswearstyle.co.uk if you would like to be a future guest on the show. Finally, please help support the show by leaving a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Until next time.